Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. Today I'm going to show you how to grow 4 crops indoors for your salads and your greens. And I've picked peas. We're not growing sprouts, we're growing full-size plants, but we're not going to let them flower and try and produce. We are going to just pick tendrils. These are absolutely delicious. They taste just like peas. We also have radishes. I have them spaced out. I want them to bulb up a little bit, but radishes are wonderful too because you can just grow them for the greens, pull out the whole plant, use it with your scrambled eggs, use it in salads. Back here is arugula. It's just a wonderful flavor, grows really well crowded together. I'll talk to you about what we're growing them in, how to set it up, how to water, all that kind of stuff. And then over here we have basic spinach. Spinach does really well. Show you the root systems, talk about just the general care. Now first of all, these are being grown for the leaves or the tendrils. I'm not growing lettuce. Lettuce is fairly cheap to buy. I want stuff with flavor basically. These actually taste just like peas, and again we'll go over the harvesting. Spinach, you're familiar with that. Radish greens are edible. The arugula has that nice nutty flavor to it. If we were growing tomato plants, pepper plants to full size, blooms, fruit, you need different kind of lights. I'm just using basic white LED lights. Let me show you the setup. You can find more information about them in my video description, and you can also find out how to set the soil up by boiling water basically. This is my basic setup. You do not need all of this. You just need one row to grow what I'm going to show you in the video today. 4-foot white LED shop light's going to keep stressing that. A shop light costs about $8 a year to operate if it's on 8 hours a day, so this is really not expensive. For the setup, if you want to grow what I'm going to show you how to set up today, you just need 2 shop lights. It would be something like that. Just basic white LED lights. They can be anywhere from $15, now with inflation going on, up to $35 for that 4-foot white LED light. That's all you need. The fancier lights work, they just cost a lot more money. So spacing 2 inches, 5 centimeters. It doesn't have to be exact. Let me just show you what it looks like in there. If you're growing them for bulbing, give them a little bit more space. If you're going to be picking the radishes at about this size, you can do every ½ an inch and just let these kind of grow, get to this thickness. They are just delicious. They get a little bit of a spine on them, so if you saute them lightly, that softens up. That's why I like using them in scrambled eggs. I also have 2 in a planting space. You can thin them down to 1, but 2 do really, really well. These have not bulbed yet, but they've only been in here for 20 days. In the next 10 days, these should bulb up. The arugula will be larger, spinach will be larger. The arugula is planted in a row. You can see I have 4 fingers between the rows, and there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 plants growing up there, spaced every 2 or 3 fingers. That might be 1 inch, 2 inches. It really depends on what you want to do. As long as you keep these watered and fed, they're going to do well. Again, we are not growing sprouts. We are growing for the leaves. And I will just be cutting the arugula right down here, taking the leaves out, leaving the roots in, and they should regrow. There are no holes in these containers. This is very light right now. That's how I know that it needs to be watered. I am watering on the top. I'm not doing bottom watering like I've talked about in other videos. The system would just be too big. You'd have to have a tray that this sits in, and that's just extra work. When you're growing them this way, you just gently pour the water across here and let it soak in, and you can judge by weight. Again, very light. Once you put in that water, I'm going to show you how to water them. It's going to be heavier. You just keep an eye on it. When it lightens up like this, that's a good clue that it's going to need more water. You can see right here that this is dark. That's been watered. This is light. Start looking for it to become light. Pick it up. The tray itself is light. The soil is light. You know that it needs water. Spinach, very similar to the arugula. That's 4 fingers, maybe 2 to 3 inches. You don't have to be exact. Same thing. 1 to 2 seeds per planting hole. We're not letting this get to a full sized spinach plant. We're going to be cutting the leaves or picking them off. And you can, do this on a bigger scale, harvest them like this, let them get a little bit bigger. In these plastic containers, you can see the root systems, which is pretty cool. I don't want anything to fall out, but let's see. And you can watch them grow. It's a great experiment if you have kids to just show them how plants grow. I can tell by this, looking at how dark the soil is, that it's fully saturated. It's also heavy again. We'll get to the peas in a second. Fertilizing. Because you're growing and you're harvesting, you have to keep these more fertilized, or you have to keep them fertilized more regularly than maybe your transplants. You don't want to put in a couple tablespoons of the organic granular fertilizer in here. If you do that, it's not going to hurt the plants, but because there's no soil life in here and you're growing indoors, that's going to get moldy. You're going to see fungus growing on it. That's normal. That's just fungus trying to break down the organic granular. Use a water-soluble fertilizer. You could use the chemical types. You could use the organic types. The whole goal is read the instructions, check out the NPK. It usually says mix a tablespoon in a gallon of water. You want to reduce that so that your numbers get close to a 1:1:1 NP and K, or maybe a little bit more nitrogen, like a 2:1:1 NP and K. And how do you do that? Let's just say the water-soluble fertilizer you had, when you mix a tablespoon in a gallon of water, it's a 5%, 5%, 5% NP and K. Well, if you cut that dosage in half, you now have a 2.5, a 2.5, a 2.5 NP and K. And that's okay if you want to use that. But then you could do it by a third, and you're going to get that NP and K down to a number that's closer to a 1:1:1. You just don't want to over-concentrate fertilizers in here. Your plants will tell you if they start to look a little bit yellow, throw in an extra water-soluble feeding. But once these germinate, and they germinate really quickly, about 7 days after germination, every 7 days, 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, longer when the plants are smaller, shorter, more at the 5 days when the plants are bigger, you're going to just substitute a clean watering with the water-soluble fertilizer. And that will keep these plants growing. All right, let's go over to the peas. The peas are really cool. I'm going to show you how to plant the peas. You get the basic idea for the arugula, the radishes, and the spinach. So these are 21 days old. I'm sorry, the ones over here are 21 days old. Let me slide that over. And they're a little bit big. These kind of got out of control. I'm just giving them a trim. So when they start getting large like this, the stems down here get a little bit tough. But what you're harvesting is you're just coming in. You could give them a haircut, just cut right across like that. I would recommend, let me get the scissors. You don't really want to grab a clump and smash them, but you would just cut like right here. And now you have your tendrils. They're delicious. You can also pick them by hand. You can find, let's see, I can tell I was eating those. You can find something like this, and you can just break off. This is a tendril right here. That's a tendril up there, and you can just pinch off the tendril. You're looking for, what looks like thread coming off of the plant. That's what they hook onto fencing stuff, and that's how they hold themselves up. And you could just go through all of your plants, and you just picking off the tendrils. They taste just like peas. I would pick them fresh, put them right into your salads. I put them in late. You don't want them to get covered with oil and dressing and get all soggy. Put them in late. They're absolutely delicious. Again, these got a little bit out of control. I'm going to cut all of these back. If you do a hard cut across there, that's when you also want to give them a water-soluble feeding. These are a little bit more like what I'm talking about. And for these, you can really just come in and do a big snip, because the stems aren't getting tough or anything like that. They are really, really delicious. And already a couple of clips, you get the idea. With not a whole lot of peas, you can get wonderful pea tendrils that are going to really flavor up your salad. And again, that's why I picked these crops. You can do lettuce, that works. Any leafy green works. Kale grows a little bit more slowly. Peas are super fast growers. And if you just want to do one thing, I'd recommend doing pea tendrils. All right, let's plant the peas. I also have a ruler that'll let you see the spacing a little bit better. And we'll do a test run of how I would do the arugula, the radishes, and a spinach in this container. It doesn't matter that much. You want at least 2 to 3 inches of depth. Peas don't need as much soil. Spinach, I'd like to have a bigger root system. The size of the container, get whatever size that you want. But you want to make sure you have enough depth. That's probably, well, let's measure it. This is just a foil baking tray, and I was going to say, yeah, it's about 2 inches deep. That is enough soil. You are keeping this moist and fed with a water-soluble fertilizer. So let's just go with the peas first. Now, you might think that it can get expensive. That's about 150 pea seeds right in there. You can actually use dried peas from a supermarket, get a brand, they're only a couple dollars a bag, but it's a ton of peas. I mean, it's probably 1,000 peas. Give them a little test sprout, 4 or 5 days, you should see that they sprout, and you can just grow those. You can also get peas online in bulk. They're not really super expensive. So that is the starting mix. Please, again, check out the video description, and I will show you how to use hot water to hydrate this so you kill off any potential fungus gnats. You do not need soil life in here. You need that out in your garden. That's another video. You want to just make sure that you pack in the starting mix. It's somewhat damp. I'll show you how to water it too. And you're just going to take the peas and you're really just scattering them on. Again, this was about 150 pea seeds. Really well. You just want the tendrils. You're feeding the roots regularly with water-soluble fertilizer. If the plants look a little bit yellow, give them a little more water-soluble fertilizer. So that's probably 75 to 90 peas in there. And you're just pushing them down about 1/2 inch. Doesn't matter if 2 fall into the same hole. Spread them out a little bit if you want. That's pretty much it. Cover them over. If you see any sticking up, push them down. If they're, even on the surface, they're still going to sprout. That's all you do. Let's get that one down. For the peas. And you can see a couple popped up. That's fine. You don't need to worry about that. They're good to sprout in here. 2 inches of soil, basic foil cooking pan. I'll show you how we water this in towards the end. We'll also go back to the grow lights so I can show you how they sit under the lights and talk a little bit about how long to leave the lights on and everything like that. That's it. So this tray of peas, 20 days later, is going to look like this. Or actually, let me just make sure I got it right. Yeah, 20 days later will look like that. 15 days later, 14 days later, it will look something like this. You can have plenty of pea tendrils, and once you start eating them, you're going to be like, these are so easy to grow. Alright, so the setup for spinach. Radishes you can grow in here, arugula you can grow in here. Spinach I would put maybe in something larger, but this would work. You don't have to over worry about that. Again, about 12 inches high, 8 inches wide, 4 inches deep. And you would just put the spinach in just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe a 5th one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. Maybe 1/2 inch deep. Spinach seeds are large. 2 inches, 4 inches. If you time an inch by 2.5, that will give you the centimeters. I would just drop 2 radish seeds in there. Or I'm sorry, 2 spinach seeds in there, cover them over. Radishes could be done the same way. You could put a few more in by just adding an extra row. So ½ an inch, ¼ inch, it really doesn't matter. This is really loose starting mix. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 radishes could go in there. And again, from the spacing between, so you're thinking like the bulb will fill up in here. So you're giving just enough space so the bulbs form. You can also put in 2 seeds. The bulbs will push themselves outward, so you don't really have to thin them to 1. Just don't put more than 3 in there. So the spacing, 3/4 of an inch right in there, or 1 inch from center of the hole to 2.5 inches in the center of the hole. 2.5 inches to here. That's like 6¼ centimeters. Or why don't I worry about spacing? Seeds grow no matter what. Seeds fall all over the place in nature. What's important here is that they do get some spacing, but that you're giving them water, light, and water-soluble fertilizer. That's the basic setup for the radishes. For the arugula, I just do a line right down the middle, and then maybe 2, 3, 4 seeds. They're going to fall out of your hand, don't worry about it. In each space, 1 or 2 inches in between, you let them grow, and they're going to be fine. I like the spinach because of the leaf structure, the taste of the arugula, the radish for the radish bulb, and the leaves, and the peas because they just taste absolutely wonderful. Yes, you can use other leafy greens and other cool weather crops or fast growing warm weather crops that you eat the leaves indoors. Again, we're using the white LED lights, and the point I want to stress is we're growing for leaves and some bulbs. Now the bulbs might not be perfect, you know, they may need a certain amount of daylight hours, different wavelengths of light, but the white LEDs are going to work generally for all of this. And even the radishes, the leaves are absolutely delicious. When you get to flowering and fruiting in a mature pepper or tomato, you need specialized lights. For all this, basic 4-foot white LED shop lights. All right, let's go take a look at the setup. Again, 4-foot white LED lights. We have 2 of them there. They take, energy-wise, they cost about $8 a year. If these stay on 8 hours a day for a year, it's only $8 a light. So you're not paying a lot in energy, and you can grow all of this. These have been growing for about 20 days. The lights now are probably 6, 8 inches above them. As the plants get bigger, they're less dependent on the light. But when you're just starting, when you're first putting them out and you're waiting for them to germinate, you want your lights to be 2 or 3 inches above the seed starting mix. And once they germinate, leave it like that for about 7 or 10 days, and then you can slowly start raising the lights. The plants are going to get bigger, so they'll grow towards the lights. You have to raise the lights. For the watering, again, this is the light brown, and subscribe and follow me. I'll show you how to grow transplants indoors for next year. I also said you can't grow tomatoes indoors with white LEDs, but you can grow dwarf tomatoes. These are tiny Tims, and they're getting grown for a video. I will show you how you can grow 12-inch tomatoes, get cherry tomatoes, grow them under the white LED lights. You can add them to your salad garden. You can also do herbs. This is cilantro too, by the way. For the watering, let's take this out. My floor is mostly level. That's what you want, a level surface. It's dry, it's light. This is a ½ gallon of water. I put in my chemical fertilizer. You can use organic, but I don't want to be pouring fish emulsion on leaves I'm going to be eating, or anything that, you know, has to basically decay and break down. Fish emulsion smells. Don't like using it indoors. The chemical fertilizers, the stuff that human beings make, work perfectly fine. They don't hurt you. They don't hurt the plants. They're perfect for this application. You just have to be careful when you first seed them. You don't want to throw the water in and disturb everything. But these are well watered. Still a little bit light. So in a baking tray about this size, ½ gallon of water, and these plants are good to go. And I just keep an eye on them just like that. Water absorbs really quickly. Again, you're not bottom watering here. In about 20 days, you can be harvesting bowls of pea tendrils, which is basically the leaves, the tender leaves, from 2 trays of peas that are right over here. He's got a hard haircut. You'll be able to do this regularly. When these start to die off or aren't producing well, you just put in some more peas. You can do this actually all winter long. You're gonna love the tendrils. If you don't do anything else, just try growing pea tendrils. Thanks for watching. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com and give growing leafy greens a shot under white LED lights.